The millionaire spared no expense to cure his son, while the cleaning lady quietly watched from the corner every day. Until one afternoon, the boy did something no doctor could explain, and she suddenly understood everything. Her hands began to tremble, the room froze, and everyone stood in stunned silence. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The house was too big, and it was always cold. David Morgan adjusted his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. He stood in the hallway listening to the quiet. It was the wrong kind of quiet. "He will not talk," a man in a white coat said, walking out of the playroom. His name was Dr. Evans. "The new scans show nothing, no physical reason. We must try a different machine, a more advanced one." David felt the words like a weight. "You said the last machine was the best, the one before that too. What will this one do?" "It will give us more data," Dr. Evans said. He cleaned his hands with a small bottle of gel. "We cannot help him if we do not understand. I will send the bill for the new machine tomorrow." David just nodded. He looked past the doctor into the playroom. His son Leo sat on the floor. He wore a plain white t-shirt. He did not touch the bright toys around him. He stared at the wall. "Thank you, doctor," David said, his voice flat. After the doctor left, the big front door closing with a heavy sound, David walked into the playroom. He knelt down, careful not to get too close. "Hey, buddy," David said. His voice was too loud in the quiet room. "How about we go for a drive? Or we could try that new puzzle." Leo did not turn his head. He pulled his hands into the sleeves of his shirt. He made himself smaller. David's heart broke. It broke every day, a little more. He had spent so much money. He had bought every test, every machine, every expert. He had turned a whole room into a place for therapy. But his son was still gone, lost in a silence David could not understand. In the corner of the room, Maria Flores wiped a shelf. She moved her yellow cloth in slow, steady circles. She did not look at David or the boy. She just cleaned. She had cleaned this big Chicago house for 6 months. She saw the parade of doctors. She saw the boxes that held new machines arrive. She saw the father's face growing more tired and more sad with each passing week. She saw the boy, always alone, even when people were in the room. David stood up, his knees aching. He did not know what to do next. The plan was always to call another doctor, to buy another machine. But a voice inside him, a new and scary voice, whispered that the plan was not working. "Maria," David said, suddenly noticing her. She stopped cleaning. "Yes, Mr. Morgan? Does he ever make a sound when I'm not here?" Maria thought about her answer. She was honest. "No, he is very quiet." David looked at his son. He ran a hand through his hair, the gray streaks shining in the light. "What do you think?" he asked, the question bursting out of him. "You see him more than anyone. What is wrong?" Maria held her cleaning cloth. She was not a doctor, she was a cleaner, but she had eyes. "I think the house is very loud," she said softly. "Loud?" David looked around. "It's silent." "Not with noise," Maria said. She chose her words with care. "Loud with worry, with trying. It is a lot of pressure for a small boy." David stared at her. No doctor had ever said that. They talked about data and tests. They never talked about pressure. Just then, Leo moved. He turned his head from the wall. He was not looking at his father or the fancy toys. He was looking at Maria's cloth, at the simple, soft yellow cloth in her hand. For a second, David held his breath. Then Leo looked back at the wall. The moment was over, but David had seen it. He had seen his son's eyes focus on something real, something simple. "Finish up in here, please," David said, his mind racing. He walked out of the room, the sound of his shoes echoing in the hall. Maria let out a breath she did not know she was holding. She looked at the boy. She saw the tight line of his small shoulders. She thought of her sister, far away. She thought of how fear can make a person very quiet. She went back to cleaning. She hummed a little song, so quiet it was almost just a breath. She wiped the shelf until it shone, a small island of order in a house full of broken hopes. The next afternoon, the quiet in the playroom was broken by a sharp electronic buzz. Dr. Evans stood in the center of the room. He held a silver robot. Its lights flashed red and blue. "This is the latest tool," he said to David. It responds to vocal commands. It will encourage him to engage, to try. David stood by the door, his black sweater feeling heavy. You think a robot will make him talk? It is about stimulus, Mr. Morgan. Modern problems require modern solutions. Dr. Evans walked toward Leo. He knelt down, placing the whirring robot on the floor. Look here, Leo. See? It can roll forward. Say go. Can you say go? Leo sat in his usual spot. He did not look at the robot. He stared at a point on the carpet near his feet. His hands were hidden in his sleeves. Go, Dr. Evans said again, slowly. He pressed a button. The robot rolled in a small, noisy circle. See? Now you try. There was no sound from Leo, only the buzz of the machine. Maria was in the room, polishing the large window. She moved her yellow cleaning cloth in slow circles, just like the day before. She watched from the corner of her eye. She saw the doctor's tight smile. She saw David's shoulders slump. Perhaps he needs a different model, Dr. Evans said, standing up. He sounded annoyed. A more advanced one. This child is particularly resistant. David's voice was tired. How much is the other model? Around 70,000. But for a breakthrough, the cost is not important, correct? Before David could answer, a soft thump broke the rhythm of the robot's buzz. Maria had accidentally dropped her cleaning cloth. It fell from her hand onto the wooden floor. The sound was not loud, but it was real. It was not a machine. Leo's head turned. His eyes moved from the carpet to the fallen cloth. It was a bright yellow spot on the dark wood. He stared at it. Dr. Evans frowned. Please, be careful. We are conducting a session. But Leo was moving. He pushed himself up onto his small feet. He took one slow step, then another. He walked past the flashing, expensive robot. He did not see it. He walked to the yellow cloth. He stopped. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he bent down. He picked it up. The cloth was soft in his hands. He turned. He looked at Maria. He looked at her simple blue t-shirt. He held the cloth out to her. His arm was straight. His green eyes were clear. Maria's breath caught. She slowly reached out and took the cloth. Her fingers brushed his. Thank you, Leo, she whispered. And then it happened. The corners of Leo's mouth moved. It was a small movement, but it was there. A tiny, real smile touched his lips. It reached his eyes, just for a second. Then it was gone. He had not spoken, but he had connected. He had seen a need and tried to help. The room was perfectly still. The robot buzzed pointlessly on the floor. David's world stopped. He saw the smile. He saw his son's eyes, present and aware. He had not seen that look in 3 years. He felt his own heart pound in his chest. He looked from Leo's face to Maria's. Maria was looking down at the boy. Her face was not surprised. It was calm. It was knowing. In her eyes, David did not see the triumph of a doctor with a new machine. He saw a simple truth. She had not tried to fix Leo. She had just been there quietly, and he had come to her. Dr. Evans cleared his throat. The sound was harsh. A simple motor reflex, picking up an object. It is not communication. We must not confuse the two. David did not hear him. He was still staring at Maria's face. In that moment, the expensive machines, the white coats, the charts and the bills, all of it fell away. The answer was not in a louder noise or a brighter light. The answer was in the quiet. It was in a dropped cloth, a simple blue shirt, and a small, silent smile. David waited until Dr. Evans was gone. He waited until the front door closed. Then he walked to the kitchen. Maria was there, putting her cleaning supplies away. Maria, David said. His voice was urgent. Can we talk? Maria turned, her calm face showing a little surprise. Of course, Mr. Morgan. He stood in the doorway, looking lost in his own house. What happened in there? With the cloth? He was being helpful, Maria said simply. It was more than that, David insisted. He ran a hand through his hair. He hasn't done anything like that in years. He looked at you. He smiled. Maria nodded slowly. She did not say anything. The doctors, the machines, they don't see him, David said. The words tumbled out. They see a problem to fix. You just saw him, and he saw you. He took a step closer. I am asking you for help. I clean your house, Mr. Morgan. I am not a doctor. I don't need another doctor. David's voice was loud, then he softened it. I need someone he trusts. I am asking you to stay, to be with him. I will pay you more. You can live here, in the guest room. Your only job will be Leo. Maria looked down at her hands. They were capable hands, used to work. I do not know how to help a boy like that. You already did, David said. His eyes were pleading. Just be there, be quiet with him. That's all I'm asking. Maria thought of the boy's small smile. She thought of his silence that was not stubborn, but scared. She looked at David's tired, desperate face. I will try, she said finally. For 1 week. We will see. Maria moved in the next day. She brought one small suitcase. Her new room was beautiful but felt empty. She put her things in one drawer and went to find Leo. He was in the playroom, sitting in the same spot. Maria did not turn on the bright lights. She just sat on the floor near him, not too close. She did not talk to him. She took a small bottle of dish soap from her pocket and a little loop of wire. She dipped the wire in the soap and blew softly. A stream of bubbles floated into the air. They drifted slowly around the room. Leo watched them. His eyes followed one bubble as it floated past his face and popped silently. Maria blew more bubbles. After a long time, a sound came from Leo. It was a small, breathy puff of air, a quiet laugh. He reached out a hand, his fingers stretching toward the shimmering spheres. Maria smiled but did not make a big deal. She just blew more bubbles. Later that afternoon, they were in the kitchen. Maria was making a sandwich. Leo stood a few feet away, watching. She hummed her quiet song. When she walked to the table to put down a plate, she did not ask him to follow. She just gently held out her hand, palm open, as she walked. She felt a small, cool touch. Leo had put his hand in hers. He walked with her to the table and sat down. David watched all of this from the hallway. He felt a hope so sharp it hurt. He saw Leo point at the red bird on the feeder outside the window. He saw him look at Maria when he wanted more milk. Small, silent communications. Steps. A few days later, Dr. Evans came for his scheduled visit. He found David in the study. Where is Leo? Dr. Evans asked. We have a session. We're taking a break from the sessions, David said. He felt nervous saying it. A break? Dr. Evans's voice was calm, but his eyes were cold. That is not in the plan, Mr. Morgan. Regression is a serious risk. He's not regressing, David said. He's connecting with Maria. She's staying with him now. A long silence filled the room. Dr. Evans slowly took off his glasses and cleaned them. The cleaning woman? She has a way with him. He holds her hand. He laughed yesterday. Dr. Evans put his glasses back on. Mr. Morgan, what you are describing is a parasocial fixation. The boy is latching onto a low-stimulus figure because he is overwhelmed. It is a retreat, not progress. This woman is not a trained professional. She is a fraud playing on your emotions. She's not asking for anything, David said, but doubt crept into his voice. Not yet, Dr. Evans said softly, but she will. They always do. My treatment plan is the only real path forward. It is science. What she is doing is nothing, and it is dangerous. You are risking your son's future for a feeling. David looked away. The doctor's words were clear and confident. They sounded like truth. Maria's quiet ways were hard to explain, hard to defend. Think about it, Dr. Evans said, picking up his leather bag. But do not think for too long. Every day with that woman is a day lost for Leo's real recovery. He walked out, leaving David alone with his fear. The doubt Dr. Evans planted grew in David's mind all night. He watched Maria and Leo the next morning from the hallway. They were sitting at the kitchen table. Maria was showing Leo how to fold a paper napkin into a simple shape. Leo was watching her hands, his own small hands resting on the table. He was calm, but David heard the doctor's voice in his head. Asterisk, a retreat, not progress. A fraud. Was this real, or was he just seeing what he wanted to see? He was so afraid of making the wrong choice, of hurting Leo more. After Maria put Leo down for a nap in the afternoon, David asked to speak with her in the study. His hands felt cold. Please, sit down, he said. Maria sat in the large chair. She looked at him, her face peaceful but questioning. David did not sit. He paced. Dr. Evans was here yesterday. I know, Maria said. He is very concerned, David began, his words stumbling. He says what Leo is doing with you, it's not real progress. He says it's a fixation, that it could be harmful. Maria was quiet for a moment. Do you believe that, Mr. Morgan? I don't know what to believe, David said, his voice rising. He forced it lower. He's the expert. He has all the degrees. He says his way is the only real way to help Leo. He says you might be tricking us. Maria's eyes widened just a little. She did not get angry. She looked sad. I am not a trick. I know that, David said, running a hand over his face. But what if he's right? What if I am letting my hopes get in the way of what Leo really needs? What if I'm hurting him by letting this continue? Leo is not hurt, Maria said softly. He is starting to feel safe. But how can we be sure? David's voice was desperate. The doctor says we can't be sure. He says we need to go back to the real treatment, the structured plan. Maria looked down at her hands, folded in her lap. She understood then. The doctor's words were louder than her quiet actions. What are you saying, Mr. Morgan? David stopped pacing. He could not look at her. He looked at the floor. I think it is best if you go back to just cleaning, or maybe you should take some time off, until I can figure this out. The room was very quiet. Maria stood up. Her posture was straight. You want me to leave Leo? Not leave, just step back, David said. But the words felt weak. Maria nodded slowly. She saw the fear in his eyes. She did not see malice. She saw a father who was terrified and listening to the wrong person. But the result was the same. I will go, she said. Her voice was clear, with no anger. It is better if I go completely. It will confuse him if I am here but not with him. Maria, I'm not firing you. Yes, you are, she said gently. It is okay. I will get my things. She walked out of the study. David stood there, feeling a hollow pit open in his stomach. He had done it. He had made a choice. He prayed it was the right one. Maria went to the small room. She did not have much. She put her clothes back into her small suitcase. She folded her blue t-shirts with care. The house was silent around her. As she walked down the grand staircase with her suitcase, a movement above caught her eye. Leo was at the top of the stairs. He was wearing his white t-shirt. He must have woken from his nap. He stood perfectly still, watching her. Maria stopped. She looked up at him. She gave him a small, sad smile. She wanted to say something, but no words came. She lifted her hand in a tiny wave. Leo did not wave back. He just watched. Maria turned and walked to the big front door. She opened it. She did not look back. She stepped outside into the afternoon light and closed the door behind her with a soft, final click. From his spot at the top of the stairs, Leo heard the click. He saw the empty hallway where Maria had been. The light from the window seemed to fade. The quiet of the house changed. It was no longer a quiet of peace. It was the old quiet, the empty quiet. He turned and walked back to his bedroom. He closed the door. He sat on the floor in the corner, pulling his knees to his chest. He hid his face. The silence around him was no longer a shelter. It was a wall, and it was thicker and darker than ever before. The house was cold. David stood outside Leo's bedroom door for a long time. He finally knocked softly. Leo, buddy? He opened the door. Leo was sitting in the corner, exactly as he had been for hours. He did not look up. His face was turned to the wall. It's time for dinner, David said, his voice too cheerful. I made your favorite, mac and cheese. No movement, no sign that Leo had heard him. David's heart sank. This was different. This was worse than before Maria came. This was a deep, frozen silence. He walked over and knelt down. Leo, please, look at me. Leo's eyes were open, but they were blank. He was somewhere far away. The hollow pit in David's stomach turned into a sharp, sick fear. Dr. Evans was wrong. He had been completely, terribly wrong, and David had listened. Okay, David whispered, his throat tight. Okay. He went downstairs to his study. His hands shook as he picked up the phone. He called Dr. Evans. Dr. Evans speaking. It's David Morgan. Ah, Mr. Morgan. Have you reconsidered the treatment plan? I have the paperwork for the new machine ready. No, David said, his voice flat and hard. You are fired. Do not come back to this house. Do not call me. Do not send any more bills. There was a stunned silence on the other end. Mr. Morgan, you are making a grave error. That woman has clouded your judgment. My judgment is clear for the first time, David cut in. You were hurting my son. You are done. He hung up the phone. He felt no relief. Firing the doctor did not fix anything. The only thing that had worked was now gone because of his mistake. He had to find Maria. He ran to the front hall and grabbed his coat and car keys. He drove to the building where Maria had her small apartment. He had never been there before. He only had the address from her employment papers. He parked and ran to the front door. He buzzed her apartment number. Again and again. There was no answer. An older woman came out of the building. You looking for someone? She asked. Maria Flores, apartment 302. Oh, Maria, I think she's out. Saw her with a suitcase earlier. A suitcase? David's blood ran cold. Do you know where she went? The woman shrugged. No idea. Sorry. David got back in his car. He drove through the streets of Chicago. He went to the grocery store she mentioned she liked. He went to the park she said had good trees for shade. He drove past every cleaning service office he could find. He asked people, describing her. No one had seen her. The sky grew dark. Streetlights flickered on. David's hope faded. He was too late. He had driven away the only person who could reach his son, and now he could not find her. In her quiet apartment, Maria placed the last folded shirt into her suitcase. The room was almost empty. She had given her few pieces of furniture to a neighbor. She looked at the bus ticket on her small table. It was for a bus leaving tomorrow morning. It would take her to Arizona to live with her cousin's family. It was time to leave Chicago and its sad, giant houses. She felt a deep ache in her chest. It was not for the job. It was for the boy, for Leo's small hand in hers, for his quiet laugh at the bubbles. She had let herself care, and now the leaving hurt. But the father had chosen. She had to accept it. She closed the suitcase and zipped it shut. The sound was final. She would sleep one last night here, and then she would go. Dr. Alistair Evans stared at his phone after David Morgan hung up on him. His face, usually so calm, felt hot. He put the phone down very carefully on his desk. He had been fired by a man who chose a cleaning woman over him. The insult burned. It was not just about the money, though that was a lot. It was about respect. His expertise had been thrown away. He cleaned his hands with the sanitizer gel, the sharp smell filling the quiet room. He could not let this stand. David Morgan needed to understand the consequence of his mistake, and that woman needed to be removed from the picture for good. He picked up the phone again. He dialed a number he knew well, but had never used for this reason before. Illinois Department of Child and Family Services, a voice answered. Yes, hello, Dr. Evans said, his voice smooth and full of concern. I need to make a report, a confidential report. I am a doctor. I have grave concerns about the welfare of a child. He gave Leo's name and address. He spoke clearly. The father, David Morgan, is emotionally unstable. He has recently allowed an unqualified stranger, a domestic employee, to have sole care of his vulnerable, non-verbal son. This woman has no training. She has isolated the boy from proper medical care. I believe the child is now at serious risk of emotional harm and possibly neglect. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. As his former physician, I felt I had to speak up. It is a very sad situation. The home is chaotic. The father is in denial. The boy is suffering. He answered a few more questions, giving his title and credentials. When he hung up, he allowed himself a small, cold smile. Now they would see. 2 days later, the doorbell rang at the big house in Chicago. David was in the kitchen, trying to get Leo to eat some toast. Leo just looked at his plate. He had eaten very little since Maria left. David answered the door. A woman stood there. She was tall and broad with a serious face. She wore a plain jacket and held a notebook. Mr. David Morgan? Yes? I am Janet Burke from the Department of Child and Family Services. I need to speak with you about your son, Leo. David's heart stopped. He felt the blood drain from his face. What? Why? We received a report of potential concern, Janet said, her voice not unkind, but firm. May I come in? David stepped back, his mind racing. A report. Dr. Evans. It had to be. Janet walked into the grand foyer. She looked around at the high ceilings, the shiny floors, the quiet. "Can I see Leo, please?" Numb, David led her to the kitchen. Leo was still sitting at the table, the untouched toast before him. He did not look up when they entered. "Hi, Leo," Janet said softly. She did not get too close. She just observed. She saw a small, pale boy who seemed to be trying to disappear into his chair. She saw the deep silence around him. "He doesn't talk," David said, the words bursting out. "He has something called selective mutism. We've been working with it." "I see," Janet said, writing in her notebook. "The report mentioned a woman who was caring for him, an unqualified person. Is she here?" "No," David said, his throat tight. "She's not. That was a misunderstanding." "Who is she? Where is she now?" "Her name is Maria. She was helping, but she's gone." David could hear how bad it sounded. Janet looked from David's tired, panicked face to Leo's empty one. She saw a huge, cold house. She saw a father who seemed lost. She saw a child who was a ghost in his own home. "Mr. Morgan," Janet said, closing her notebook, "I have to be honest with you. This situation raises a lot of flags for me. The report, your son's condition, the strange living situation with this woman who has now left. My job is to make sure Leo is safe." "He is safe," David insisted, his voice cracking. "I love him. He's my whole life." "I believe you love him," Janet said. Her eyes were careful. "But love is not always enough. Sometimes a child needs a stable, secure environment. This does not feel stable to me right now." "What are you saying?" David whispered. "I am saying I will be back tomorrow. I need to think, and you need to think too. If I determine this is not a safe home, I will have to place Leo in temporary foster care for his own protection." She handed David a business card. "I will see you tomorrow, Mr. Morgan. Please be here with Leo." She let herself out. The door closed with a soft, terrible finality. David slid into a chair at the table, facing his son. Leo had not moved during the entire visit. "She's going to take you away," David said, the horror of it dawning on him. "Oh God, Leo, I'm so sorry." Leo stared past him, at nothing. The walls of his silence were now a prison, and David had no key. He had only one desperate chance left. He had to find Maria. The sound of a suitcase zipper was the only noise in the small apartment. Maria checked her bus ticket one last time. The bus would leave at 7 o'clock the next morning. She was ready. A loud knock on the door made her jump. She was not expecting anyone. She walked to the door and looked through the peephole. David Morgan stood in the dim hallway. He looked terrible. His hair was messy. His eyes were wide and red. Maria took a deep breath. She opened the door. "Maria," David said. His voice was raw. "Mr. Morgan." She did not step back to let him in. "Please," he said. The word was choked. "Please, can I come in? For 5 minutes." She saw the real panic on his face, not the confused fear from before, but something sharper. She nodded and moved aside. He stepped in and saw the single suitcase by the bed. "You're leaving?" "Tomorrow. To Arizona." "No," David said, the word bursting out. He ran a hand over his face. "I mean, please, you can't." Maria folded her arms. She waited. "I was wrong," David said. The sentences tumbled out fast. "You were right. Dr. Evans was wrong. I fired him. But it was too late. Leo, he went back inside. It's worse now. He won't look at me. He won't eat. It's like I broke something." "I am sorry to hear that," Maria said softly. And she was. "That's not all," David said. His hands were shaking. "Dr. Evans, he was angry I fired him. He did something. He called child services. He told them lies. He said I let a stranger hurt my son. He said my home is not safe." Maria's calm eyes filled with understanding and with worry. "A social worker came today," David said. A tear escaped down his cheek. He did not wipe it away. "Her name is Janet. She saw Leo. She saw the house. She saw how lost I am. She said she might take him away, tomorrow. She's coming back tomorrow to decide." Now Maria understood his panic. "Take him where?" "To a foster home. A temporary home." David's voice broke. "She said it was for his protection. From me." He looked right at her, his eyes begging. I know I don't deserve your help. I know I was a fool. I listened to the wrong person because I was scared. But Leo doesn't deserve this. He is so scared, and the only time he wasn't scared was with you." He took a step closer. "I am not asking for me. I am begging for him. Please come back, just for tomorrow, just to be there when the social worker comes. Leo needs to see you. He needs to know you didn't leave him forever. Maybe then he will come back at 2, and maybe the social worker will see that he is loved here." Maria looked at her suitcase. She looked at the ticket to Arizona, to a new start. Then she thought of Leo at the top of the stairs, watching her go. She thought of his small, cool hand in hers. "He thinks I left him," she whispered. "You can show him you didn't," David said. "Please, Maria, I will pay you anything. I will do anything." Maria shook her head. "I do not want more money, Mr. Morgan." She was quiet for a long moment. "I want to see Leo." She walked to her bed. She picked up her bus ticket. She tore it in half. The sound was very final. "We should go now," she said, turning to face him. "He has been alone long enough." David let out a sob of relief. He could not speak. He just nodded, over and over again. Maria picked up her suitcase. She followed David out of the apartment and into the night. They did not speak on the drive back to the big house. The only sound was the car engine, carrying them toward the one chance they had left. Janet Burke arrived at 7 o'clock the next morning. David opened the door. He had not slept. He was wearing the same clothes from the day before. "Mr. Morgan," Janet said, her face serious. "Is Leo here?" "Yes, he's in the living room." Janet stepped inside. She saw Maria Flores standing quietly in the hallway. She recognized her from David's description. Maria met her gaze and gave a small nod. "This is Maria," David said quickly. "She came back last night. She's here to help." "I see," Janet said. She made a note on her pad. "Let's go into the living room. I need to observe Leo and his environment. I need to see how you all interact." They walked into the large living room. Morning sun came through the windows, but the room still felt cold. Leo was sitting on the floor near the fireplace. He had a single wooden block in his hand. He did not look up when they entered. David's heart was pounding. He looked at Maria. She was calm. She stood near the doorway, not rushing toward Leo. "Okay," Janet said. She sat in a chair in the corner. She held her notebook. "Just go about your normal routine. Talk to him. Engage with him. I'll just watch." David knelt on the floor a few feet from Leo. His mouth was dry. "Hey, Leo, good morning." His voice was too loud, too cheerful. Leo stared at the block. He turned it over in his hands. "What do you have there? A block? Can I see it?" David reached out his hand slowly. Leo pulled the block closer to his chest. He did not look at his father. David's shoulders slumped. He looked over at Janet. She was writing something down. The sound of her pen scratching the paper was loud in the quiet room. Maybe we could read a book," David said, his voice losing its fake energy. "You like that book about the train?" No response. Leo set the block down on the carpet. He just looked at it. David felt a wave of helplessness. He was failing. Right in front of the person who could take his son away, he was failing. He glanced desperately at Maria. Maria understood. She moved slowly. She did not go to Leo. Instead, she walked to the sofa and sat down on the floor beside it, leaving space between her and the boy. She did not look at Leo. She did not look at Janet. She looked out the window. She began to hum her quiet song. It was almost inaudible. Janet watched. Her pen was still. Leo's head tilted, just a fraction. His eyes moved from the block on the floor to Maria. He saw her blue t-shirt. He heard the faint, familiar hum. David held his breath. He saw the tiny shift. He wanted to say something, to point it out to Janet, but he stayed silent. He remembered what Maria had taught him without words. Pressure does not work. The clock on the wall ticked. 1 minute passed, then 2. Janet watched, her face unreadable. Leo moved. He pushed himself up onto his feet. He left the block on the floor. He did not look at his father. He did not look at the social worker. He took a small step, then another. He walked across the wide living room floor, directly toward Maria. He walked until he was right beside her. Maria did not stop humming. She did not reach for him. She kept looking out the window, giving him all the time he needed. Leo stood there for a moment. Then, slowly, he lowered himself to sit on the floor next to her. Their shoulders were not touching. He sat close, but on his own. Janet watched. She did not write anything down. Maria reached into the pocket of her pants. She pulled out the little bottle of dish soap and the wire loop. She did not look at Leo. She dipped the wire and blew a single, perfect bubble. It floated up into the sunbeam between them. Leo's eyes followed it. His body, which had been so tense, softened just a little. Maria blew another bubble, and another. A small cluster of them drifted in the quiet room. Then Leo did something he had never done before. He turned his head. He looked away from the bubbles and looked right at Maria's face. His green eyes were clear. They were present. Maria met his gaze. She gave him the smallest smile, just with her eyes. Leo looked at her shoulder, at her simple blue t-shirt. He leaned. It was a slow, gentle movement. He leaned his body toward her until the side of his head rested against her shoulder. He let out a small sigh, a sound of relief. Then he closed his eyes. He did not hug her. He did not speak. He simply rested there, trusting her to hold his weight. It was a silent statement. It said, asterisk, I am safe here, asterisk. It said, asterisk, this is my place, asterisk. Maria did not move. She did not put her arm around him. She just let him rest. She kept humming her quiet song. Across the room, David put his hand over his mouth. He was crying without making a sound. Tears streamed down his face. He saw his son, connected to another person, seeking comfort. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen, and it broke his heart and put it back together all at once. Janet Burke lowered her notebook. She placed it on her lap. She watched the boy resting against the woman. She saw the complete peace on his face. She saw the woman's calm strength. She saw the father, overcome with emotion, keeping his distance to let this moment happen. This was not a performance. This could not be faked. This was a child who had found his anchor. The clock ticked. The bubbles popped softly in the air. After a full minute, Janet stood up. The movement was quiet. She walked across the room, her footsteps soft on the rug. She stopped near David. She spoke in a low voice so as not to disturb Leo. "Mr. Morgan," she said. David wiped his eyes, trying to compose himself. "Yes?" Janet looked at Leo and Maria one more time. Then she looked at David. Her serious face had softened. "I've seen enough." "I've seen enough," Janet said again, her voice clear in the quiet room. "He can stay." David gasped. A sob broke from his chest. He bent forward, his hands on his knees, crying with relief. "Thank you," he choked out. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," Janet said. She put her notebook in her bag. "Thank asterisk them asterisk." She nodded toward Leo and Maria. Leo was still resting against Maria's shoulder, his eyes closed. "What I saw here today is a child who feels safe. He knows where his safety is. That is what a home is supposed to be." She looked at David. "The report was false. I see that now. But Mr. Morgan, you need to understand something. A big house and a lot of money do not make a family. Asterisk. This asterisk makes a family." She pointed to the simple scene on the floor. "It's unorthodox. It's not what I usually see, but it is real. You have to trust what's real, not just what sounds expert." David stood up straight, wiping his face. "I know. I learned that the hard way." "I will close this case," Janet said. She handed him a new card. "But I will check in, one time next month, to see that Leo is still doing well. Is that fair?" "Yes, more than fair," David said, taking the card. Janet gave a final, approving look at Maria, who met her gaze and nodded once. Then the social worker let herself out of the house. The front door clicked shut. The sound was different this time. It was not a lock. It was a release. David walked slowly over to where Maria and Leo sat. He knelt down on the carpet in front of them. Leo opened his eyes. He looked at his father. He did not move from Maria's shoulder, but he did not look away. "Hey, buddy," David whispered, his voice thick. "She's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're all staying right here." Leo looked from his father's tear-streaked face to Maria's calm one. He looked at her blue t-shirt. He sat up straight, pulling away from her shoulder. He looked at her for a long moment. His lips parted. He took a small breath. A sound came out. It was soft and a little rough from lack of use. Ma, he whispered. Then, Ria. 2 syllables, clear as a bell. Maria's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes filled with tears. David froze, his breath catching. He did not dare to move. Leo looked at Maria, waiting. He had said her name. Maria reached out and very gently cupped his small face in her hands. Yes, Leo, she said, her voice trembling with joy. I am here. A real, full smile spread across Leo's face. It lit up his whole being. He leaned forward and put his arms around Maria's neck in a loose hug. David watched, his heart so full he thought it might burst. He had heard his son's voice for the first time in 3 years. And the first word was a name, the name of the person who had taught them all how to be a family. Weeks later, the big house in Chicago was different. It was not quiet in a sad way. It was peaceful. In the kitchen, Maria stood at the counter, chopping vegetables. David was setting the table. Leo was on the floor, stacking colorful blocks. He was wearing a soft blue t-shirt, just like Maria's. Blue, Leo said, pointing to his shirt. That's right, David said, smiling. Blue. Blue, Leo repeated happily. He picked up a red block. Red. David caught Maria's eye over the table. They shared a smile. It was a smile of shared work, of simple triumphs, of a future they were building together. One word, one meal, one quiet day at a time. The cold mansion was gone. In its place was a warm home, filled with the sounds of a family learning how to love, not with money or machines, but with patience, presence, and the color blue.